Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to tonight's edition of HR Mentorship Series. By now, you will have realized that we are not joking here. We are committed to continuous learning, and we all must become better, more prolific, more proficient, and add more value at our various workplaces. Today, we have chosen a topic titled Employer Branding, and our speaker for tonight is Ruth Edopai, and I would just like to introduce her briefly and hand over control to her, just in case we have one or two people here who may not know her. Our speaker for tonight, Ruth, is a lawyer. That's interesting, a lawyer, and she's also a practicing human resource practitioner. She has well over 5 years quality experience. 5 years quality experience. She's really passionate about culture and employer branding, and she's currently the head of human resources at a leading commercial law firm here in Lagos, Nigeria. And it's my privilege and pleasure to invite to the first time, as a first-time facilitator, hopefully the first of many to come. Ruth, please, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. It's actually a pleasure being here today, and I really hope that this is we have many more of this together. So let's get right to it. Today's topic is employer branding. So employer branding is a topic that I would say a lot of Nigerian brands and organizations shy away from, because they believe that the talent market is saturated with people looking for jobs generally. So they don't see the reason to have to build their brand. They don't see the reason to give the right perception to their target audience. But after, the great resignation happened in 2020, and they had a lot of people, resigning and moving jobs. Then, after 2020 came the Japa wave and everybody was leaving. So it was hard to now get talent. It was literally like a talent war. And, my colleagues in HR can agree with me that getting talent these days it's a struggle. Anybody in talent sourcing right now is literally pulling double duty, because talents are not hard to find. They literally research your brand. They literally go on Glassdoor, they ask around. Even some people may have gotten mails on LinkedIn asking them about previous organizations they've worked in, about the culture, the people, and everything now. So people just don't want to work anywhere anymore. They want to work in the right organization that is tailor-made for their career goals. So the way you are profiling your next talent is the way your talent is also profiling the organization that they want to work in. So gone are the days whereby people just want to work anywhere anymore. It doesn't just cut it. Even if you are paying killer salary, people want more these days, So that's where employer branding comes in. So unlike before, when Nigeria, we usually ignore our brands, now we have to. So employer branding is now a thing in Nigeria, unlike before. So a few people may have heard of employer branding or possibly recruitment marketing. So they are almost intertwined in some way. So we'll get right into it. You may wonder, what is employer branding? So generally, the organization, they have a brand, and brands, whatever you do, whatever image you give up to people is your brand perception. So the perception you give as an organization, or the message you communicate to your potential talents, or even your employees in-house, it's your brand, it's your employer brand, because your employees in-house also matter. The perception they have of you would also determine if they stay or if they continue with you. And if they go, you have an attrition on your hands. Then you have to go back again to the talent market. And, there's a problem. If you go back again to the talent market and they have the perception that you have a terrible brand, well, you're back again to square one. So I'm sure everybody would remember the hashtag of last year, horrible bosses, that was trending on Twitter, and people came to speak about their work stories. And you would be surprised that some of the companies that you hold in high esteem, people had a lot to say about their culture and their policies. But it has been existing for a long time. when we talk within ourselves, when we're in the job market and we talk within ourselves, we know the companies that have very terrible culture. But then again, everybody's looking for jobs. Everybody's looking for a way to put meals on their table. So sometimes we persevere just to be able to work. But now the tables have turned. And we see people now calling their bosses out, calling their companies out for bad culture. And people now have to now start building their employer brand so that they can also get talents even after they have been called out for bad culture. Some of them now do a lot of cultural transformation, retreats. They get consultants to try and work on the wellness of the employees, do more employee engagement, just to get a brand healthy again to be able to attract talent. So we'll go right to it. And we say, why is it important? It helps to boost retention and it helps to reduce attrition. So if you have a positive employer brand, I'm sure we all know that every year, Jobberman does this thing where they bring out, I think it's 100 places, 100 companies, or I think 100 companies, the best companies to work for every year. And we see some particular brands that we envy and we love to work in. Everybody loves to work for some certain brands, multinational or local brands and everything. All these are part of employer branding. So you see them and you want to work for them because you believe that, oh, the pay is right, the benefits are right, access to a lot of things, and also the right culture. So you wouldn't want to go. And you see people that they said they climbed the ladder as probably a copper, and now they are probably a director or probably head of a department or possibly even partner. So people actually stay. So the better your retention rate, the more positive your employer brand. When you have a brand that everybody is always quick to resign, I know of some organizations, I cannot mention their names. They don't do up to a year. As people are coming, people are going out. Their results on Glassdoor are terrible. That's because they have a bad employer brand. So they always have an attrition on their hands. No matter how much they pay, people do not want to work for them. Then, it's creates a distinctly great place for employees to work in. Yes, when the employer brand is right, it means you are doing something right. So people would want to work in. The culture is right, the atmosphere is right, there's room for growth, there's room for development, both professionally and personally. So you wouldn't want to go. It's a great atmosphere, it's a great culture, the air is right. So it creates an attractive brand for the organization. Yes, not only for the employees, but generally for the brand as well. Because when you start building a positive employer brand, become visible not only in the eyes of your talent audience, but generally in the public audience. For people begin to know you for something right. Word travels fast, and social media these days has helped us really have a holistic view of information out there. Some positive, some negative, but nothing is really hidden again these days with the aid of social media. Once anybody has a phone and access to internet, information is really out there for everybody. It creates a competitive advantage, yes. So when you have a great employer brand, your competitors, you have a more competitive advantage with your competitors. So people are not necessarily leaving you to always run to your competitors in the same line of business. People want to stay with you. So therefore, you and your competitors start the talent struggle for talent. That's where the poaching, for we that are in talent sourcing, you start poaching your competitors' employees on LinkedIn. That's where the poaching starts, because they don't really want to leave. So you have to offer them really something that where they aren't really being offered, maybe a higher position, better benefits, better perks or something, for them to now leave the competition and come to you. And it drives a higher level of employee engagement. So some organizations, they just have employees, they just come to work, do their jobs like zombies and robots, and they go home every day. There's no engagement. There's no communication between management and staff. Management does not understand the mindset or the line where the employees are. They don't know if they are happy. They don't know if their job satisfaction. They don't know if they are ready to jump at the next site of an offer. They don't know if they are satisfied with currently where they are, or they want more, if they are growing or adding value to themselves and the organization. They don't know, because the brand is not doing well. But when there's a positive brand, it helps people to actually communicate what they want as an organization and how they want to, drive the organization further, what they want more. And there's this positive engagement between the management or the brand itself and the staff. And therefore, you always at every point in time know what your staff require. So you'll be able to attend to their needs before they jump off to the next available company that is willing to take them. So how do you build your employer brand? Some people may ask. So building your employer brand is not necessarily a hard task. You just, first of all, every brand has, for you to even build an employer brand, for you to even structure any organization, you have to know the business goals, its business mission, where it's going as an organization. And when you have that clear-cut understanding of its business goals and how you want to achieve the business goals, that means having a strategic plan on how you intend to achieve those business goals, you can now build your employer brand in that direction. For example, if you have a brand and say, oh, in the next 5 years, in the next 5 to 6 years, I would like to be at XYZ. I would like to be XYZ. I would like to be at this point with my brand. I would like to
Hello, good evening. Are you still with us? Okay, go on, please.
Okay. So building your employer brand. So when you have the clearly defined objective of your business goals and how those objectives are already to be achieved, you have to do an evaluation. You have to do an internal check. Evaluate your brand, where you currently, honestly evaluate your brand, evaluate it and ask yourself where you currently is. Is it healthy? Is it positive? Maybe do a small interview with your employees and ask them what they think about the brand. What is their genuine opinion about the brand? What they think about the brand, look at it, check your metrics and your status over the years, how many people you've had to hire, how many people have had to leave, the performance and productivity of your staff, and check it amongst the potential talent market. So for some of us that do coaching, when you reach out to some people and they ask, oh, who is this organization or what is this organization? Some of them instantly go cold. They don't respond to your messages again, or so they're just instantly telling you, oh no, it's not like you're not offering them a better deal. They just don't want to know. Some of them may actually come out and tell you that this is their perception about the brand and this is why they wouldn't want to move. Those are the honest ones. But then again, you notice that it is harder for you to find talent more often than before. Then, so what do? That means there is a problem. So evaluate your current brand perception amongst your potential talent market and your current employee, which will give you a holistic view of how you are doing. Then have a well-defined employer value proposition, which means that, okay, so how are you doing? What are you doing currently in the talent market? How do you plan to bring out value proposition to put yourself in the eyes of your talent market, in your eyes of your current employees, that will make them stay, that will make them want to prolong their employment with you, that will make the talent market that you are looking for want to be with you? How do you do that? And you measure your success. When you build your employer, when you have all of that, that's already ingredients to build your brand. Building your brand, you have measure it against where you are and where you're going to, then you build your brand. When you build your brand, you test your success rates in the market. How has it been so far? Have you had more or less attrition since you started? Have you been more attractive to people? Are people literally throwing your HR team resumes to please wanting to work for you? Are people shooting cold CVs wanting to work for you? How are you faring in the job market? When you put a job ad on different recruitment channels, what is the engagement? What are the CVs that you get? What kind of quality CVs do you get? Are they the talent audience that you are looking for? Or is generally everybody just applying because, oh, I'm looking for work, and not because, and it's not because you have a good brand that they would necessarily want to work for. So when you measure all of this, you can now tell your success rate. Are you doing better or are you doing worse? So when you have all of that, you can now tell how you should adjust your strategy. Are you going to redo it? Are you going to tweak it? Are you going to practically do something totally different? or are you going to amend some parts of it? So everything is going to tell you what is wrong and how you are to fix it. Then recruitment marketing as often will tell you that, oh, when you put out recruitment for talent sourcing, it will tell you how far you are doing. You check your channels from time to time. The various channels could be different job posting platforms like Jobberman and LinkedIn and all of that. So you check your engagement to such platforms, and your recruitment marketing will now tell you how far you're doing as often as required. Then your employer brand strategy. Just because you put in a strategy that has worked does not mean that it has to be stopped over time. You have to keep reevaluating to ensure that it is constantly being necessary and useful to the target market, and not that because it worked one time, you just leave it over there. You have to constantly keep evaluating yourself against where you are now and where you want to be, your current employees and your potential employees. As the business grows, as time passes by, as the business expands, and generally the world happens. For example, nobody foresaw COVID, but COVID changed the way we work. So you always constantly have to adjust your brand strategy to be in line with what is currently happening or what is or could happen in the future. So you may ask, what is your brand strategy? So this will give you a perfect employment brand strategy. So your HR and your talent management strategy, your marketing strategy, you cannot have a perfect employer brand without a marketing strategy. Because employment branding is literally human resource and marketing linked up together. So your talent management strategy and your marketing strategy properly infused together will give you your employer brand strategy. For example, we see some organizations, they like to post I'm not going to mention this, but there's a popular commercial bank. Every year they like to host a competition for tech talent, where people come, view things, show their exhibition, and more often than not, they put an eye out for tech talents around that time. They try and poach one or two people that have come because they have shown great resource, they have shown great knowledge, and they poach them and try and absorb them into the system. So even setting up that tech competition is a marketing strategy to support bright talents and minds in the country, and use that. Some even people organize job fairs. They organize job fairs, or they go to job fairs to spot out people. Some people even, as well as they put out different kinds of competitions. Some people they use employees to do some CSRs and some everything. So when people see all those posts and stuff online, they are like, oh, okay, this is a great company. I like what they do. The employees seem happy, they seem good, they seem great. This is the kind of organization that I would like to work in. Then when they see a current opening, they quickly open. Some of them even shoot their code CVs and say, okay, they may have a position just for what I need, or they may have a position that fits right for me, but it isn't advertised, and they try and they try to send their CV, and maybe they will be taken, or maybe they will not. But that means that it has put you in the light of your target audience. They come naturally to you and they come easier to you. It makes talent sourcing easier for you. It makes your employee happy to stay. It makes your employees want to be retained and stay longer. Except they have to leave. Most employees would generally not want to. It also makes referrals easier for you because they would want to refer the organizations to their friends and family to come and work in. So it gives the brand a healthy brand because they are known for not only their marketing activities, but also having a positive brand for current employees and future employees that might want to join them. So having a perfect HR management strategy and a marketing strategy properly infused together will give you the perfect employer brand strategy. So most often than not, some big organizations, HRO would work with a marketing comms team, probably somebody in reputation management or PRO, or generally digital marketing. So share the marketing comes in, they work hand in hand together so that they can properly create an employer brand strategy. Even the way they put out job ads, you have maybe somebody, a comms person, a copywriter, write out the perfect and attractive ad that will make people want to see and click on it online, to want to work with them. So then you have some people that, generally the HRO is the brand person. So you have maybe a background history in marketing communication. So it goes hand in hand and, help you to always create the perfect employer brand, from how you source your talent, how you write your job ads, activities that you create to make your brand attractive to the public, which will include your potential target audience and even your current in-house staff. So everything infused together will give you the perfect employer brand strategy. And when you have an employer brand strategy, it would always help you give the right perception to the public. And perception is everything in the world we have today. A wrong perception can literally frustrate your organization. Some companies have actually fallen so low because of the wrong perception. They have great hands leave, they have capable hands leave, so they are stuck with people that cannot function effectively. And when they cannot function effectively, there's no productivity. Productivity is low, profits becomes low, and by the time the company realizes, they're already going down, stocks are falling, everything is going down, and they wonder what's wrong. It's just simple. It's the perception they have put out there. Some people would not want to work with them, and based on one or two things that have been said or done, some people would not even want to do business with them. So it goes a long way to affect generally everything. So we go to the next slide, which is recruitment marketing. So like I said, employer branding and recruitment marketing are almost they go almost hand in hand, because it helps for recruitment marketing. Employer brand helps you to attract the right talent and helps you to keep your current talent. Recruitment marketing helps you to attract the right talent. So it's almost two of two together. For you to have a good recruitment marketing plan, you must have a good employer brand or brand perception. So recruitment marketing is the process of attracting and nurturing talents to your organization by marketing your employer brand to them. And how you market your employer brand to them. So it's one thing to create the employer brand strategy. It's one thing to create a perfect employer brand, but without marketing it to the right talent or the right audience, it's a no-show. You have created this perfect thing and you want people to see it and know it. How you market it to them is also as important as how you have created that brand. And how you market it to them is reaching out through the right channels. What are the right channels? For example, you are looking for a tech company and you're looking for tech talent. I'm sure you will not be checking some platforms. You will not be checking some channels. You'll be looking for more channels where you can find tech talents, where they have showcased their portfolios and what they can do, technically what you are looking for and how they fit into your business goals. Remember in the beginning, we talked about your business goals and your plan to achieve them. So you cannot tell me that you are somebody that creates brand items. Maybe you create billboards and everything, and you will now want to hire somebody that makes just TikTok content. You won't think of hiring a designer. You won't think of hiring a designer, somebody that can bring the designs your brand wants to life, and how they can be visibly seen by their target audience. So how and where you market your needs also matters. So you must reach out to the right channel. If you are looking for a product designer, you would want somebody that has shown proven record in product design, except you are looking for entry level, that is. So there are some channels that will be specifically needed for you, and those that are in tech recruitment know that there are channels for tech recruitment. So how you reach out to the right channels is very important so that you can be right in front of your target audience. Why is it important? Recruitment marketing is revolutionizing talent acquisition. And this makes it even more important and relevant today because in those days, I'm sure you just put in, except for now, I think the government and some international or multinational brands or big local brands, they do it. They publish it in the national dailies and people apply, or people just thrown by word of mouth or anything. But now companies don't just want to spend unnecessary money hiring. They don't want to just waste unnecessary money hiring. There's a cost that is involved in hiring, and people don't just want to waste time and money hiring. By the time you do the metrics, you realize that you have cost a lot, and when you measure it compared to what you have hired, it doesn't match. So recruitment marketing would actually help make talent sourcing and acquisition really, really easier, and which makes it really more important. So why is it important? We have acceleration. So talent sourcing doesn't have to take that long again because of acceleration. Alignment, it aligns with where your brand is and where talents you're looking for aligns with where your brand is. Candidate experience. So when we are in the recruitment processes, the candidate experience is very important in recruitment. If the candidate has some, for example, I once went to an organization and I think that was my second interview with them. And during my second interview with them, the experience I had, I already told, coming out of the interview, I told my friend that this is going to be a toxic place. And I was told, no, it's not a toxic place. It could just be that day, probably just the atmosphere, maybe something that happened. And the recruitment team may not have been in the best form of mind and stuff. And funny enough, when I actually got hired and I walked in there, it was actually very toxic. So my experience already as a candidate had already told me that this is not a place I think I would like to work in. So candidate experience is also very important. It helps you build a stronger employment brand. So when you have a perfect recruitment marketing plan or strategy and it's properly executed, your plan or your employer brand is also well defined, because for you to even have a proper employer brand, you must also have a proper marketing strategy. Remember, we talked about HR strategy and marketing strategy. It means creating the employment brand. So for you to have a strong employment brand, it means you have a proper marketing strategy, one attractive marketing strategy, which also help you when it comes to recruitment marketing, and which also help you in making your employer brand stronger. It also reduces the cost of hiring. Like I said, there's costs attached to hiring. And if you can hire faster and hire better, the cost attached to hiring isn't that much. Increase retention when you have a good recruitment strategy, which is also from the recruitment process down up to the hiring process. People are happy coming in and they're also happy to stay. They're happy coming in, then employment brand helps them stay better, then improve candidate quality. So improve candidate quality means that, like I said, some people just apply for jobs because they just want to work. So you see people literally just applying to anything, and the hours and hours. Personally, I don't know about anybody else, but that's what I find tasking in talent sourcing. The hours and hours you spend trying to sieve out CVs, you put in the right specification of people that you want, and if out of 50 CVs that you see, you only find 2 or 3 people that are close to what you want, if they are even what you want at all, then you have to go back again and everything. You have to spend money advertising. LinkedIn ads are not cheap these days and everything. So you now spend a lot of time. There's a vacancy that needs to be filled. And depending on the kind of hand, maybe no specialized hand to fill in that vacancy. A lot of things just go wrong because the candidate quality you are getting is not suited for the role. That takes a longer time. And at some point when you are frustrated, you just settle. Just like, okay, I'm tired. Let me just settle for whatever I get. So when you settle for whatever you get, you have an issue. Probably you have to spend money training, you have to deal with it, and sometimes it now results in a bad hire. And when it results in a bad hire, you are right back at the start again. And increase diversity. So when you have a perfect recruitment strategy, you attract people from basically everywhere. Sometimes if you're a multinational company, people from different nationals, you get people really far and wide. for people from different countries, different scope of work. For example, each job role, we have different specializations attached to it. So you get a broad spec of people. It's almost like a platter of food. So you get every piece you need on the platter and you are spoiled for choice. So the perfect recruitment marketing team makes a talent sourcer's work easier and, achievable result in a very short time. So your recruitment marketing strategy is not enough to just say, oh, I write this very cheesy job ad, to attract them, maybe Gen Zs or people, and I'll just put it out there on LinkedIn, Instagram, and maybe some other job posting platforms and just set it out there. What's your strategy? If you don't have a strategy, you accept to fail. Any plan that you make without a proper strategy is set to fail, because there are a lot of things that you have to consider, and there are a lot of things that you have to have in mind when going out there to create this plan. One of the components of recruitment marketing is employer branding. Like I said, you cannot have the perfect recruitment marketing strategy or plan without employer branding, because the employer brand is what we sell your recruitment marketing. Employer brand is say recruitment marketing. So if you have a negative perception out there, even if you put in the right ad, you create everything perfectly, do the ads, put it out there, the right channels, set for your target audience. The wrong perception out there, it goes to spoil it. People will generally avoid it like a plague. There are some companies out there today that I will not show my CV to if I was job hunting, because I already know from past experience, from friends, from word of mouth, and generally reviews out there that it is a no for me. And I will not want to experience some things in the course of my journey. So your employer brand is as important in recruitment marketing as the word recruitment marketing. Without a good employer brand, you cannot have a good recruitment marketing strategy. It will just be an effort in futility. Then we have the inbound recruitment. So the inbound recruitment is if you know, okay, let me start with inbound marketing. For those that have a brief idea or a brief stage in marketing, you may know what inbound marketing is. So you may ask, what is inbound marketing? Inbound marketing is a method that you attract your customers by creating valuable content and experiences that are tailored to them. So take the marketing and exchange it with recruitment. It's also the way that you create the perfect, content to attract your customers. In this case, your talent audience. So your talent audience, we're going to call them customers. They're your customers in this case. So for example, I mentioned a commercial bank that created a tech competition, and from that tech competition, they started poaching the participants of that competition. So it helped them to they created content that attracted their target audience, and their target audience saw value in the content. And when they were coached, they were saying that, okay, this is the place I would like to work in, because this competition that was created in line with what I would like to do, or in line with my career. So it's also a way to also, attract your target audience. Some people also use the concept of storytelling. So permits me to digress a bit to marketing, because you cannot have an employer brand without marketing. So some people use the act of storytelling to also attract their brand, and you see some nowadays, I'm sure the ads that you see, actually when you just turn on Instagram, you see some job ads already, some sponsored ads, and they're not your conventional ads. And they are like, oh, we're looking for XYZ. If you are that person, or you are somebody that's in line with that, or you are looking for what we have, apply. So other people will tell us that. Some other people will tell you, and they won't seen one that said, oh, what is your dream job? What is your dream job, and why would you like to have your dream job, and why do you think you can have that dream job with us? And you put it out there, and then you apply, and they just want to see your you just want to see how well you express yourself. They want to see vitality, they want to see content, they want to see originality and all of that. That's not your conventional recruitment ad. But they're looking for something different. I didn't know another company, I think it was for a people and culture manager some years ago. They literally put the job description of a proper people and culture and people manager on the ad and said, if this is you, then this is not, then you are not what we are looking for. We are looking for the conventional people and culture manager. And that's strange because they literally put the job ad of a people and culture manager, but they're looking for something different. They're looking for something out of the box. They wanted people to apply out of the box. So now, when you now click on it to apply, it now tells you that what will be your job role. So you have to write out your job role for them. So when you write out your job role for them, they want to see something different. I'm particularly sure they had exactly what they were looking for as the right fit to manage their talents. So, stuff like that are putting. So you are curious enough to want to work for that company that, okay, the company that does that has something different from the rest of the other companies, probably will have more benefits, probably will have more relaxed policies, remote working and some other things that, are attractive to talent. So it makes the talent come directly for you. And I can tell you how many people would have applied for that role, but I personally shared it to a lot of people that, okay, this looks like something different, give it a shot. So inbound recruitment is making the company attractive enough that your target audience, or better still, your targeted talent come to you. So you don't have to go out. That is called inbound. So you don't have to go out and pick them. You are literally drawing them to you. And it makes it easier to recruit and it's cheaper as well. So, so that's another way to put it. Then you now come to audience segmentation. So technically, your target audience is your audience, but you wouldn't necessarily want everybody. Yes, you won't want to seek, you can't hire everybody, and you cannot find the right talent in everybody. So audience segmentation is another marketing tool, and this helps you to identify the subgroups in the talent audience. So let's, for example, now, how do I put this? You ask for a project manager, like I've said, you have over 50 applicants. Yes, but you cannot hire all 50 people, and all 50 people don't have the kind of specialized talent you are looking for your brand. So what you do is that you now identify the subgroups within that target audience, and deliver a more tailored messaging and build stronger connection to them. So you can decide to say, okay, 50 people applied. 50 of those people had product management certifications, maybe PMP in this, and they had work experience in that and that. So you now take away that subgroup that say, okay, 10 people had PMP and they had specialized skill that we are looking for. So you take away that subgroup and you now give them a more tailored and a detailed message using audience segmentation. So that makes you ignore the rest aspect and go deeper to that aspect to pass the message you are looking for, and thereby eventually pick out your preferred hire. So candidate experience and management, I talked about the engagement. I talked about it in the previous slide. Your candidate experience is so important in products, what do you call it? In product management, they will call it user story. Your user story is so important because you are like a brand. So who buys the brand in HR? It is your employees and potential employees. They get to use the brand. So the experience is so important. Like I said, I already figured an organization was toxic based on how the person was so, I don't know if it was that day, but he was so angry and hostile. And I was wondering, because you never met me before. So why are you being hostile? Even asking some questions during interviews can piss some HR professionals off. And we know ourselves. So sometimes we bring our emotions to recruitment.
we bring our sentiments to recruitment, and that's why some people say that data-driven decisions are formed. Decisions that are not driven by data are biased by human emotions. But that's a topic for another day. So it's also very important on how you sell your brand, because if somebody goes up to say, oh, I went for an interview and they were so rude, or they treated me very badly, and the word around goes, word on the streets is also another form of marketing. In fact, it's the oldest form of marketing. How people speak around about your brand and to each other is very important, because you are not in these rooms and you cannot defend yourself or defend your brand. So it goes a long way to now tell people what they think about your brand. And some people will not want to hide, not want to apply for roles, no matter how attractive and juicy it is. People will say, oh, my friend went there and she was treated very badly and I would not want to stay there. Do you get that? And how you also engage with your candidates. For example, there was a recruitment I did, I think 4 years back or 5 years back. So generally, we interviewed the person. So we decided to ask some questions on how, the person's ideas or expertise on some things. And then when we did, and we asked the person's opinion of the business and what we think we did wrong. And then we realized that, oh, we're actually doing something wrong. And we didn't know all along because, we didn't know. So sometimes when you evaluate your brand, you don't know because you need external criticisms to help you know what's going on wrong. And, engaging the person made us realize that we had a problem we didn't have. And here was a guy who had seen the problem and was already ready with a solution. And that single engagement was why we hired him, because we didn't even know we had a problem. And he spoke about it. And it was one of the most interesting interviews I've actually had. I think it was close to an hour and everything. So how you engage with your candidates and the experience you give them will help build your marketing strategy. Even if you don't hire them, they leave with a positive note, even wanting to be hired later. You can even reach out to these candidates in a year or two and ask them if they are still actively seeking for roles, and they won't turn you down if they are, just because of your experience. And then again, you never can tell who these candidates become tomorrow. I had a friend that went for an interview with a company, was a law firm. After getting to the final stage, after how many interviews and everything, he wasn't picked over a very flimsy reason. And I thought to myself, if you were going to do this at the end of the day, why stress the candidate this far? And today he owns his own business. And he and that partner, the partner reached out to him for collaboration for a joint business. And he now said that if I still carry that torch, I would have turned these guys down. But let bygones be bygones. So generally, not just because of your recruitment marketing, but for your brand, you never can tell. The candidate tomorrow can be a potential asset to your brand. A candidate today can be a potential asset to your brand tomorrow. In recruitment analysis, a lot of HR are guilty of this thing. You recruit and you don't do the analytics. You don't know. The analytics will tell you how well you have done your recruitment. It will also tell you if your recruitment strategy is wrong or not. For example, if you have done for a mid-level role that shouldn't actually require a lot of expertise, and you have actually spent 5 months on that role and a lot of money and a lot of channels, and you have still not gotten the right hire, I think it's a time to look inwards that there's something wrong somewhere and start probing the problem for you to find the appropriate solution. So sometimes the analytics helps us measure our success, our failures, and help us spot problems. It also helps us diagnose problems and look inwards. So sometimes you have to go back to the drawing board and also find out what you are doing wrong and how best you can make it work, Then we also go back to creating a perfect recruitment marketing strategy. At the beginning of creating a recruitment marketing strategy, you have to set goals, well-defined goals. What are you trying to achieve by creating a recruitment marketing strategy? You don't just go to the market without a plan. It's like going to the market without a brochure list. You go everywhere without actually buying the necessary things needed for your business. So in order to waste time, resources, and leaving a very important role, we can please set proper goals on why you are creating a recruitment marketing strategy. Then have well-defined vacant roles. For example, you have somebody that leaves a role. Okay, there are some people, there are some organizations that because of Would I say because of population, they merge roles together. They merge roles together, roles that are not even in sync, like they are far apart. They merge it together, and that person leaves. So when you are going back into the market, you not expect another person to perform that exact role that sometimes you don't skill for. So you would say, okay, because you are head of legal, you must do HR. Because HR and legal are not far apart, you must do it. But what if the person is simply just an in-house legal person and he has no knowledge about HR, and you forcing it on him just because he wants a job, and you say, oh, the person before that used to occupy this role was doing it. The person wanted to do it. The person probably even skilled up for the role, but this is a different person. So do you want somebody that is doing legal and HR together, or you just want whoever you apply as legal to do HR work, which helps you to reduce your budget and also saves time? So when you don't have a well-defined vacant role, you're all over the place looking for different things because your role is not defined. So you probably don't know what you are looking for, even if it is right in front of you. So established candidates and audience, like we said, if you pull out a role today, a lot of people would apply, whether they are paid for it or not, they would apply nonetheless. But having a well-defined target audience is, you know what you are searching for. You know the people that you are trying to meet. You know the people that you are trying to reach with this strategy. So when you have that, you know how to approach them, you know how to put out your ads, you know where to place your ads. And when you finally get a range of people you're looking for, you know how to apply your inbound recruitment. That means segment from the large group, a subgroup of the people that are tailor fit for the well-defined role that you are now looking for. So when you don't have something set in stone while creating a marketing strategy, it will affect you. Then you also have you now also say, okay, I want to, you also have to create a content calendar. So a content calendar helps you allocate resources. Allocate resources in terms that you have to allocate manpower resources. That's your time. Allocate manpower resources to creating a recruitment strategy, using the proper recruitment channels, defining the kind of candidates you want, you know, if you are going to use a marketing team, you know, giving them a proper brief as to what you want and every other thing. So you have even your own resources, you have to allocate your own time looking for and getting the right people for you. So how do you do all of that? You have to allocate proper resources, both manpower, both money, because putting jobs on platforms costs money, you know. It also costs skills as well, because you just put I'm looking for XYZ, you may not necessarily attract the kind of people you are looking for. So you have to be practical and skillful about it. Then creating a content calendar. So this also comes back to marketing. Those that are in marketing or have worked in marketing know the importance of creating a content calendar. So it helps you from just choking up your channels, social media channels with content. Just imagine, you just click on some people's platform and every day you just put looking for lawyer, the next day looking for doctor, the next day looking for engineer. You yourself will ask yourself, why are these people always looking for everybody? What is wrong with them? So technically they may not be looking for everybody, but how they created their medium of reaching out to people is the problem. So create a content calendar and how you want to share the recruitment information and how you want to reach out to those people. So maybe you create a job, you sponsor it, you give it some time again, create something else, look for how you space it and look for how you reach out to people and how you define your channels of communication. So creating a content calendar may help you to do that. You know, so that's why some people, it's important that as an employer brand, especially if you want to, you have to have a bit knowledge of marketing, because it will help you from just being the conventional HR personnel. You have to have a bit of marketing to achieve your desired aim, which is attracting the right talent with ease. So thereafter, we go to the recruitment marketing funnel. So this is the funnel for recruitment marketing, and it starts with the candidate's journey. The fact that the candidate is aware that there's a job ad, that it's potentially what they need or it's what they want, you know, then they become engaged in applying and reaching out to the job poster and filling out the form on the, what do you call it, the job apps that are used and then every other thing. Then considering, oh, is this job fit for my future career progression? Is this job fit? Is this what I'd like to see myself in? For those that plan out 5 years, 10 years, can I go in this job? Does it fit into my journey? Or does this job give me the remuneration that I need for now? Or whatever it is. So you tend to look at that. Then you start considering, oh, is this the right job for me? So then you apply. The candidate applies and then the person applies and becomes a candidate. So until the person applies, it doesn't become a candidate. It's just a potential candidate or generally just a talent. And then when the person is considered, that after the screening, you now have the interview, offer, and hire. So we all know how this works. So the stage up until the hiring, the stage up until the consideration, where employer brand comes in. The fact that you are aware and you are engaged to the ad is the employer brand, because that's the attraction. Remember, we said employer brand is making the brand attractive or creating an attractive perception to your target audience, which is talents you want to hire. So the aware and the engaged phase is where employer brand comes in. So the employer brand will make it aware to your target audience and they will become engaged. So checking that when you are doing the analytics of your social media platform, you see a place for engagement and reach. So you can check how many people have engaged with your ad or how many people have reached. So that engagement is full. We see something that catches their fancy, or they see something that attracts when you engage. So employer brand will do that for you. Then hiring phase, which is the blue phase. So the hiring phase is, oh, I am considering this job. I think I want to be hired for this job. Then I apply, shoot my shot and see if I will be taken. So that's the hiring phase. So from the employer brand phase to the hiring phase, it's recruitment marketing. Because if you have not properly done a proper recruitment marketing, nobody will be aware, nobody will be engaged, nobody will consider that would anybody want to apply. So we have properly created a proper recruitment marketing plan and they have all engaged with it. And you have gotten applicants that have applied, your target audience that have applied. Then the rest part of the funnel, that's the I think it's purple. The purple part of the lilac part of the funnel is just recruitment, which is the regular screening, interview, offer, and eventually hire. So that's the screening phase. So that's the recruitment phase. So we have the recruitment marketing starts with recruitment, the funnel starts with recruitment marketing and goes all the way downwards to recruitment. So if you have not done a proper recruitment marketing, recruitment below will not be possible, to be frustrating, and to just be an effort of utility, because it would be right where you started again at screening until you have a proper employer brand and proper recruitment marketing strategy. So we come to developing your talent network and you wonder, oh, I have the proper recruitment marketing plan and the employer brand, that's all I need. But no, these are the also ways that would help you boost your employer brand. Because it's one thing to have an employer brand, but you cannot just leave it at that. You have to boost it. You have to constantly, we talked about constantly evaluating your brand to make sure at all points in time it is a desirable brand. It is the brand of choice for your talent audience, not just any talent audience, the talent audience that you are targeting. Very important, because everybody in the job market is a talent audience, but cannot specifically what you are looking for, even if they fit into the role. I'm sure you have your specifications and your requirements for the role you are trying to fill, especially when it's a well-defined role. So if it's not buying into that role, then they are not your audience. They're just great talent, but they're not the targeted audience. So leveraging on network of current and former employees. Leveraging on a network of former and current employees. So there are some brands that once you leave an organization, you become an enemy. I personally have worked in such organizations. Once you resign, you are an enemy of state. But if a current employee is talking to you, that current employee can be fired because they will say, oh, you people are trying to bring the organization down, there's a collaboration to deploy, all sorts of conspiracy stories start coming out. I don't see the reason why we should exit a company and be an enemy. In fact, healthy brands have alumni networks, a lot of them. If you go to some of all these multinational brands, I do not call it, you see there is a part for alumni network. Because the truth is that if you work in consulting or professional services, you will constantly require to build your network. Because really you're going to get business. So if you are working as a consultant or professional services and you go in-house, you are the one that is now going to bring your colleagues will now be coaching you for business. Because you have business, you are in-house. So they are now the people that they are looking for. Just imagine whereby you have a very terrible relationship with your former employees, even if they have the right business for you, they will not bring it to you because there is a disjointed relationship. If even your when I used to work in consulting, my boss always says something. He says that the first point of call when marketing the services that you have, you start from home, which is your friends, your colleagues, and your acquaintances. Now, most of us spend more than half the day, about 8 hours of our day. By the time you just 8 hours of our day with our colleagues, by the time you include traffic in the morning and in the evening, what is left of your day with your friends and family? Some of us work weekends, whether it's part of your work schedule or it's just a way to reduce your workload for the next week. So you are still engaged in work. So network of your current employees is very important because referral starts from home. Referral starts from home. Same way they say charity begins at home. Referral starts from home. So when you don't have a good relationship with your current employees or your current, where are you going to get network from? And I don't speak about networking, just talent sourcing alone, but generally just business operations in total. Where are you going to get the network from? Starts from home. Then you say you have to build your networks at home. So when I'm looking for employees to hire where I work, I go to my colleagues and say, this is what I'm looking for. Do you have anybody that matches this qualification? It makes it easier for me and it makes recruitment seamless for me. So I sit down and I have referrals because the current employees already know the structure of the firm. They know the expectations. They know who they are referring. If the person can meet up or the person cannot, so they don't even waste their time. I've had a friend that asked me, oh, please, where you're working, I like that. And I told her straight up, you cannot, okay, because this, you don't have this and you cannot do this. When you cannot have this and you cannot do this, you're just going to waste your time and you're just going to increase my recruitment budgets. So there's no point. Don't waste your time. So having healthy networks inside and former employees helps to build your brand. Remember, we talked about word of mouth. So they speak to their friends, they speak to their new colleagues, and it makes recruitment marketing even easier. They engage on your posts, they share your recruitment ads, and it makes it easier for you to find it makes it easier for you to find talent, and it also makes you easier for you to also find business. Referrals make great hires. Like I just mentioned, it's easier, to be honest, both external referral and internal referral. So it makes it easier, to be honest. So before I start looking for talent, I go and I ask for referrals within my network, and most importantly, within the organization I work in. It makes it so easier. Employee referral program. Well, some organizations have this. I've worked in a place before when someone says, if I refer an employee, what do I get? So we have some companies that create an employer referral program. You refer business, you refer employees, you get something. It counts for something. Maybe it's your KPI, maybe monetary, whatever you can offer the employee. And also, and also do internal referral. It means that you can also refer an internal candidate. For example, I'm sure you've seen some companies whereby they will tell you when they place a job ad that, are you a current staff of the organization? Probably putting your ID badge number, your full name and everything. So they want to know if you're an internal staff actually trying to apply for a job, or somebody they'll tell you, have you been referred by somebody in the organization? They'll tell you, were you referred by someone in the organization? How did you get to know about us? Were you referred by someone in the organization? Because they have an employment referral program. You see employees constantly referring great hires for the organization because of the benefit that comes with it. So it's actually a food for thought that these are some of the perks or benefits that can boost your employer brand and also make you attractive to your current employee. Because when you do all of these things, it makes you an attractive brand and people will want to work with you. Building a talent network. You know, ask yourself, how do you build a talent network? So it's it's also how you reach out to your the various talents. When you have a network of talent, you know, have people that you constantly keep in touch with. So if you're in talent sourcing, you have a lot of people that you will bombard you in on emails and LinkedIn that generally reach out to you at events, when you go for job fairs, even generally on my own. And I just have people that reach out to me and say, oh, please, I have this person that's looking for this particular role. If you please have anybody that's looking for this role, please let me know. So I keep all of those people in hand because sometimes they come in handy for me. And when I'm looking for that particular role, I start looking at, oh, I've had someone that has asked for this role before. I already have that person within my network. I'm like, are you still looking for this role? And I just have, you know, an opportunity for you. So it saves me the stress of having to go through the whole talent sourcing and recruitment, building talent communities. So on that, how do you build talent communities? I'll go back again to the commercial bank that created a program for tech. For tech, I think they started with this will be like the 4th edition or the 5th edition now, and other commercial banks are really picking it up now because you have a community of talents constantly associated with your brand. You know, they follow you on social media, they want to know what you're doing, you keep in touch with them, you create a little community of these people. So those people may not necessarily work for you or need your job, but they would always have people within their network that you would need and you would require at different points in time who can always help you for referral purposes, for recruitment purposes, and basically every other thing. So the talent community is very important. So you find something that is attractive that you can build and, you know, get people to engage and participate in it and inform a community for that. So that also comes again back to a little bit of marketing. And this is why I say for you to build your employer brand as an HR personnel, you must have, or you must gain a little bit of marketing experience. If not, you have to work with a marketing team, depending on the scale of your organization. So create and constantly evaluate ongoing engagements and retention processes. I cannot overemphasize how engagement is so important. If you do not engage, you'll be living on an assumption. And most people that know assumptions are lies because you cannot tell the mind of any individual until you engage. Engaging as a HR professional allows you to know what is currently going, allows you to create a health check. You know, sometimes they'll tell you that then there's a little bit of the psychology and HR are intertwined, yes, because you constantly have to evaluate state of mind of the people that you work with. So engaging with them will help you know where they are at every point in time, which will help you manage your retention processes. For example, if staff I've heard of an organization where staff have been on the same salary, especially organization I've worked with before, and the same salary for 4 years, and they have not been, there's not been no salary increase or salary bump, even in the state of the country today. And because of a little bit of favoritism, someone from nowhere came in without a degree and caught the eye of the managing director, and she increased the salary above people that actually have masters and have been doing their job for 4 years, and you give them a bump, and it costs people to be disgruntled, and people are leaving. Like, okay, so why have I been working this long if this is what is going to happen? But when you constantly engage and evaluate, you can tell the minds of the people that, oh, we're due for a salary bump. Oh, we are not happy with this. And you can start diagnosing the problem and creating a solution to help you boost retention. So this and more, this is just the bullet points, but this and more will help you develop your talent network. And when you're able to develop your talent network, it will boost your employer brand, and it will also help for recruitment marketing, talent acquisition, and also retention. So it is very important, please, as HR personnel, how we treat staff, both present, both current and and outgoing or incoming or past staff. It's very important. You cannot be biased. You cannot take sides. Just treat people the way they are, because it helps you. It helps you make your job very, very easy. You know, and it can also help to frustrate or help you. For example, now some disgruntled, I've seen some HR professionals that have deliberately or not deliberately frustrated some employees, and those employees make it their life mission to frustrate the brand of that organization wherever they go, however they can do it. And you are just going to keep stressing yourself, because the space is so large, and there are so many people that are willing to listen to things that have been said. How many platforms do you want to go and ask people to believe? How many people do you want to have social talk? How many perceptions can you change? But it goes to affect your brand. So how you manage, especially if you have some CEOs or some bosses that like to use HR as instruments of destruction. They only recognize that you are HR for firing and giving query. They don't see your worth in any other thing, just violence. They live on violence. You will be the one to suffer it, because at some point when talent acquisition is so hard, they would say it's because you are not doing your job properly. But we forget that all these things are what helps us to make the brand we work on easier. So please, if you are the type that is living in violence headquarters at HR, please move over to the neutral side and just be neutral and do your job, not based on sentiment, but based on data, and help develop your talent network, not just for your current brand, but for every other brand you are going to be working in the future. Then, so in a nutshell, you may ask, what is employer branding? Some people may say, oh, I have digested it. I have listened to a lot of this, but I still don't get what employer branding is. So this is the employer branding in a nutshell. The employer, which is the brand, not the boss, not the CEO. Overlook those people. The brand itself is the brand. That's the organization itself. They're not going to say, oh, working for Dogoyaro brand, and maybe the CEO of Dogoyaro brand, like Mr. Musa, working for Mr. Musa is so terrible. I hate Mr. Musa company. They will say Dogoyaro brand is terrible. I hate Dogoyaro brand. Everybody, including you, that is the HR of Dogoyaro, they will mix you together and see that organization. They're very terrible. They don't know how to manage talent. They will mix you inside. So the employer is very important. Positioning the employer is very important, and most often than not, some CEOs do not understand this. That's why I say employer branding is not just for HR professionals, but also for business owners. Some CEOs don't understand how very important perception is. So you are to advise and help them build their employer brand, and they too with contribution. That's where stakeholder management comes in. You may say, oh, I have very stubborn bosses, they don't listen, they are not attentive. Yes, we have all of those. Some people are they're stuck in their ways, they don't want to listen, they don't want to pay attention. We have all of that. They feel they know it more, they are more skilled than you. It's in every workplace. Every single workplace. There's no workplace that I have not worked in, that I have not seen one person out of the lot that have decided to frustrate the right thing just because they feel like they know more than you, or it should be done their way. So stakeholder management is very important here. You build your employer brand. Stakeholder management, how are you going to manage your bosses? How are you going to manage the perception of the organization? You can't take some decisions without the board or the management. So employer has to be managed, and this is where stakeholder management is common. And we have reputation. Some organizations, like I said, some big organizations, especially brands, they have reputation management. Those are the ones that manage the reputation of the brand. So, negative news, bad press, PR, all under all of them. They try and use media buying to try and, boost their activities, use employee engagement to create content and every other thing. So how you manage your reputation of an organization is very, very important. We've had some organizations say that, oh, they interview talent, and the secret share, the acts of talent, oh, okay, they create a current issue that is in the organization, and they say, oh, how would you solve it? Or how are you going to go about it? The people give them the solutions, or those ones share their intellectual property with them, they don't hire the person, then they implement. So then we say, okay, we have this brand, we want to create XYZ concept. How would you create it? These guys go as well as creating a value proposition document, a full document. They create everything from start to finish, execution, content, value, everything. And they are not hired. And some brands will now take this thing and now give it to their in-house team to implement. So they still intellectual properties, and some brands are very notorious for that. I cannot mention it, but if you've heard of some on social media, yes, they are very notorious for that. So that goes a long way as to the reputation of the business. So if you're asking me to create, maybe as an architect, you ask me to draw a building plan for XYZ because you want to see how good I am. And it's actually a real brief in that organization. And they now take the different concepts from different people and pick out the best. They now give it to their in-house team to implement. They will not pay the applicants. They will not give recognition to the applicants' intellectual property. They will not hire the applicants. So imagine the reputation damage that company will have eventually when they are found out. So reputation is actually very, very important. You know, in being owners of business, organizations, or even HR professionals, being human first. Humanity first is very important because when you are human, there are some things that will generally bring the reputation to disrepute that you will not involve in. That you will not involve in because you know that it will drag your reputation into the mud. Into the mud. At the time that I've been in an interview when I was working with a senior HR person, and the only issue we had with some people were, oh, they wore the sign of the cross and Christian bands on their hand, and it was an athlete. And I said, if you're an athlete, which is all well and good, I don't have to drag other people into it. It's their belief. It has nothing to do with the job. What is being an accountant having to do with going to church? Can they do the job or not? And it caused a bit of an issue, but along the side went on to damage the reputation of the brand. So they're just like, oh, they don't know what they are doing. They just come to waste people's time and every other thing, make mockery of the whole thing. So reputation is very important. Reputation management is very important. How you build the reputation of an organization is very, very important. Value proposition. What value are you giving to other people? You know, and creating when you're looking for proposal, sponsorship, or anything, you create a value proposition document to the organization that you're applying for sponsorship, and you ask them that please sponsor me because this is what I bring to the table. So come back to the employer brand. As an employer, what do you bring to the table? Why should people work for your organization? Why should they leave what they currently are to come and work for you? Why should they bring their skill sets that they have acquired, the professional certifications they have acquired, the years of experience that they have, and come and work for you? What are you offering them? It's not a case of what do they have to offer you, but now it's a case of what do you also have to offer them. So it's not a two-way street. So you must have value for the proper value proposition. Then retention. What is your plan for retaining the current employees that you have? What is your plan for retaining the employees that you have? Then recruitment, because when you have a good employer brand, you have a good reputation management, you have value, the current employees that you have would want to stay. They will hold you tight the same way you are holding them tight. Then we are not going to add to other people recruitment. What are you looking for? How do you put yourself in view of your target audience? Then attraction, how do you attract people to you? Who comes again to inbound recruitment? How do you attract people to you? How do you make them want to leave where they currently are to work for them? But where I currently work, I wonder why some people will offer me that, okay, I want to leave where I work to work for them. These days, it goes about money. Money is no longer everything. People are looking for so much more. Some people will particularly tell you that, oh, I'm a mother. Toddlers. I cannot work in a job that is not remote because I don't want to be absent in my children's life. Some people will tell you that, oh, I'm looking for XYZ benefits because I'm a family man and I have a wife at home and I need to take care of her. So maybe finances is a problem. Some people look for a higher role. So there's just nothing wrong with where they work, but they want to climb and there's no room for career progression. So they look for roles that will offer them the next level so that they can keep climbing. So it goes on to say what are you looking for? What would make them be attracted to you? So different things you have to offer, and then how you place yourself in the sight of your target audience and the perception you give up to them to help giving you a quality and a strong employer brand. Then that being said, success factors. These are the factors that can that can affect the success of your business or reduce the success of your business. We talked about stakeholder buying. Stakeholder buying, like I said, even as HR personnel, we all report to somebody. We don't own a company. We report to management or senior management, whatever you call it, or whatever you report to your organization. Those are the stakeholders. And how you manage the stakeholders are more or less how you get what you want. So they sit down there, they make decisions and everything, but you don't expect them to know what's going on. That's why you are there as the employer brand specialist, or you are there to help them manage the employer brand to make your job easier and to get talents to drive the business. So stakeholders buying, how do you manage the stakeholders? How do you get them to buy into what you want? You have a vision, you have a mission, you want to get the best talent, or you need them to be able to come to the brand. So you have to speak to the stakeholders and get them to buy into the driver you are trying to. You are the driver of the team. You are the driver of the ship. You are the driver of the ship. So you have to get them to buy in. Starting your recruitment needs. So you cannot just go every time to just go and be recruiting. You would have redundancy on your hands. Too many people doing nothing. Terrible overhead cost that is not even meeting job performance. Again, when you do the analytics, you will see that you're actually running on a loss. You are paying salaries. It is not matching the inbound cost. It's not matching the outbound cost. So there's a problem. So when you do the analytics to figure out like the problem, it's a lot of redundancy on your hands. So you cannot just think, oh, because this person left, we must immediately recruit. No, you have to consider your recruitment needs and how they are relevant at the time. If you have 5 receptionists and you guys decide to now go hybrid, you will see that there's no, and 2 people leave, you see that there's no need to replace those 2 people because 2 days out of 3 days, 2 days out of 5 days, you're not in the office. So technically, there may not be as much need for the 5 people as it were when it was a 5-day or 6-day a week rule. So you may need to size up your recruitment needs to having the proper recruitment needs or needs for hire would allow you to know how to position yourself for recruitment so that you don't just be everywhere with no proper defined vacant roles and no proper defined strategy. You are just technically recruiting every day. There was a company when I used to work in hospitality. It got so bad that agents were refusing to now recruit for this particular business because they were always recruiting. And then the agents have to say, why are you always recruiting? Today, replace this person. Today, bring a new person. Tomorrow, fire this person. I don't want this person again. Let's review our contract. So constantly recruiting. And you just wake up one morning and say, I need 5 chefs. No defined reason. Tomorrow, no, 5 chefs is too much. Salary is too much. Let's reduce it to 3 chefs. No, today, I think because we had one big event, we'll be having big events like this all the time. 6 chefs. And the big event does not come again for another 6 months. Like, my headquarters is low. Fire them and reduce them to 2 chefs again. So what are your well-defined recruitment needs? Why do you need them? And every other thing that will help you. Having a well-defined EVP. We talked about the employer's value proposition and how it is very important. So how do you have a well-defined? Having a well-defined EVP is very important. You know, what do you say an EVP is? An EVP is an employer's value proposition. You know, it is the core benefits that make up your employer brand. You know, it is the promise the employer makes to the potential applicants, or even sometimes to your in-house applicants. And I said that sometimes value proposition is what can I offer you in exchange for your talents, your experience, your skills, your services. So it's almost like trade by barter. Here as the organization, this is what I have. I want what you have. This is what I have. Share you take and give me what you have. So we exchange. The potential employee will now say, okay, I like what you are giving me. In exchange for what you are giving me, I too give you the required talent, skills, and experience needed for people who are trying to fill. So you must have the proper EVP. Some people, they offer them multinational experience, travel experience, an exchange program, chance at professional development. Some even offer them relocation packages. So a lot of stuff, a lot of stuff. They offer them a lot of stuff. So the question is, what are you offering them? To always have a well EVP so that you're not just waking up in the blue and say, oh, I will give anybody that is working here this, and you have not thought about it. You don't have it all the time. You're just speaking of the, and when people are employed and you cannot meet up obligation, you are now a liar. You are now a liar. You don't want to be called a liar as a brand. Now, the perfect employer brand or the perfect talent magnet is when your internal perception is the same with the external perception. So when your internal perception is different from the external perception, there's a problem. You may be called a fraud because I cannot say I'm a disgruntled. All your employees are disgruntled, and outside you look like the poster model for the best place to work in. That means you are a fraud. It means you are a fraud. It means you are a fraud, and that means that you are actually packaging and lying to potential clients just to attract them. And when they eventually get in, and they see what is currently going on, they would be upset and they will go. So when your internal perception is different with your external perception, you become a talent magnet. It means that if your internal and if your current employees think that you are a great organization to work in, and outsiders think that you're a great organization to work in, it means you are a great organization to work in. So you are now a talent magnet. But when your insiders think that you're a great organization to work in and outsiders don't think so or don't know, it means that there is a problem with your employer brand. That's now for you to troubleshoot and find a way to solve it. So that way you have already diagnosed there's a problem. The employer brand is sick and you need to diagnose what the problem is and apply treatment to it so that you as a great company don't keep losing on great hands just because you have not created the right perception to your talent audience. Onboarding current employees. When you have current employees, some people just think that onboarding is when your employee is hired. So they're hired and you go and you forget about them. No, you constantly need to reacquaint them with where the business is going, where the business is driving, and your plans for them. You constantly have to re-educate them. You constantly have to onboard them with your new goals. When you evaluate your employer brand and you create all these new fancy benefits and decisions, please take your employees along. Let them know your plans for them and their future. It helps them making informed decisions as to stay or to go. Because sometimes you have very good plans for your employees, great plans for your employees, but they are not aware, and then they go. And you cannot be upset because they were not aware. So onboarding current employees means that you must always carry them along. You must always tell them the plans for the business and how they tie into all of this. If you are going to go, for example, if you are going to change, maybe you had a merger and acquisition and you're going to move from one business to another, and it's not something that they want to do, there's a problem for you. Last year, a friend of mine had met me to create an EVP for the organization. And why? What was the problem? Why they needed an EVP? So there had been a merger of two different countries and two different businesses. And the employees were from different countries. So they had now moved and transitioned to renewable energy, which was a measure of two different countries. And the people of the old and the people of one of the organizations that had been existing for a very long time were unwilling to cooperate with the new buyers because they were stuck in their old ways. They wanted their old culture. They liked how things were being doing. So they're being pushed out to their new employer, and it was causing a bit of problem because we're having people not being productive, not executing, work was slow, there was tension in the air. New bosses were getting really worried as to if they had made the right decision, if they should fire. It was a unionized environment, so they just couldn't just lay off people just like that to avoid lawsuits. So they had to now come out with a well-defined EVP and onboard the current employees again as to the direction for the business, where they are taking the business and how they tie into all of that and how they are part of that, and how, maybe the employees are where they will lose their jobs, or maybe, they will be relocated to somewhere else they didn't want to go. The old company already had its culture that they were already acclimatized to, and they were not willing to change. So they have to do an EVP to tell the people that are new hires that this is who we are, this is what we have to offer. And this is what we have in mind for you. So there's no need to jump ship or abandon ship yet. All they had to do was properly communicate to their current employees what they had in mind, and that helped to diffuse the air and reduce attrition, because people were already ready to jump ship, and they needed the old staff of the company because they needed them to help the new staff settle in and jump right into the business. Then we go to keeping an eye on competition. So while we know that we say competition is unhealthy, but you don't have to be competitive. But however, two people that are in the same business with each other are competitors. So you must always see how your competition is taking advantage of the market. It helps you know how to constantly keep yourself on your toes. For example, some organizations have done a lot with a lot of manual processes, and they have gone digital. So it makes work easier, it makes life easier, it makes management easier. And if you are saying that, oh, I'm still sticking with manual and competition has gone digital, people want ease of work. They will jump ship at the next available opportunity because you are making their job strenuous. But keeping an eye on competition healthy, keep it healthy, please, not malicious. It helps you know how to constantly put yourself on your toes, how to be ahead, or how to catch up, or how to be, at par with them, even salary wise, to make the salary competitive, make the benefit competitive, the atmosphere competitive. That way you're able to hold on to your talent and not lose them to the competition, because all of us are in the business of poaching. We cannot lie to ourselves. Even though we are friends, we will poach each other's talents because it helps to keep our job. But I will poach each other's talents. We'll be friends after we have poached each other's talents. So it's not personal, it's just business. But if you are keeping your job competitive, your atmosphere competitive, poaching talents will be hard because you won't want to jump ship easily. Then we also have the getting the right shape for talent, which is building your employer brand, getting everything, the benefits, the packages attractive for the talent that you want to hire. And we talked about HR metrics, and I talked about how metric and analytics is so very important. Please, at every HR professional, I advise that you know how to measure the analytics of everything that you do, from recruitment to performance to training and development. It always helps you evaluate where you are at every time. You may be scared of mathematics and a little bit of visualization and Excel, but it's just learn the basics. It really helps you at the end of the day manage, to help you to measure how well you have done as a business and how well you have done as a HR professional. Then bridging the gap between HR and marketing, like I said, for an employer brand, as much as you want to do it, you cannot be a perfect employer brand manager or personnel without an idea of marketing. It will not work. You will do things the wrong way. And as an employer brand, even if you're a marketing comms personnel, still need a little bit of HR knowledge. So the perfect blend is HR and marketing. So bridging that gap helps you create for your organization the perfect employer brand and managing it. So I didn't necessarily say you have to go to school to read marketing, but Google is your friend, and there are a lot of courses out there that are your friends. So find relevant courses that will help you learn the basics of marketing, how it ties into employer brand, and it will help you bridge that gap and help you create the perfect employer brand and help recruitment marketing easier. So everything starts from strategy when you want to create an employer brand, strategy to planning to execution. If you start from the execution phase without strategy and planning, to fail. If you plan and just execute without having a strategy, it will fail. If you miss any of these steps, it will fail. Start with a strategy. Why are you doing this? What do you need to achieve? How do you achieve it? What is the goal? Plan for it, then jump into execution, and you have the perfect employer brand. So in summary of everything that I have said, employer brand is giving your organization a competitive edge. That is basically it. Taking your employee organization, give them an edge against their competition or against the market in general. We're in the labor market and everybody's striving to have good talent to drive the business goals of every organization. If you cannot find the right talent to drive the business goals of any organization, it will frustrate the growth and the development of that organization. So we must have the right talent to drive. We must have the right perception to attract that talent that we need to drive. So if we're able to have a good employer brand, I'm sure that talent sourcing will not be so hard. So it's not just for you to go and create a perfect marketing plan and put it out there, or you have to think of how you put your culture in place, the compensation, the packages in place, plans for the staff, both professionally And then personal growth, you think of how they can work well, think of the culture, mental health, you think of accessibility, open doors, you think about their future, even those that have left. You create a space, a healthy space, room. And you think of yourself, and I always ask some people that the place that we're currently working on, you manage, if you were just an employee, do you think you'll be happy? Do you think you'll be able to grow? Do you think you would want to be hired if you were not in the place of management? If your answer is no, then there's a problem with your employer branding. If you talk to people, especially those at the lower grade, and they have an issue, they can't see themselves climbing up to being to your level or even above it, there's a problem with your employer brand. If there's no clear path for career growth and trajectory, there's no clear path to personal growth, there's no clear path to the achieving the business goals, objectives, and vision, there's a problem with your employer brand. And it is not bad to have a problem with your employer brand. The fact that you know that there's a problem, it means that there's room to diagnose. The fact that you diagnose that problem is the first stage to solving that problem. And when you have a problem, it means there's a solution. So once you've identified a problem, if your employer brand is sick, how do you treat it? Where do you start from? What kind of care does it need? How do you get it back up? And how do you get it visible? It's very important for you to evaluate yourself from time to time on how you are doing as a brand. You know, speak to staff, check their happiness index. Are they happy working there? Given the next chance, would they leave? Let's leave Japa alone. Japa affects both people that are happy and people that are not happy. So I always sometimes don't think that it's a measure to use as to how a brand is doing. So how are they doing internally? Are your staffs happy with you? Or did they just put on a scenario when you are passing for eye service just so that you don't get fired? Do you understand? What did they think of the organization? Do you understand? What did their feel? Did they feel heard? Did they feel listened to? Did they feel like they are in a place whereby they would like to stay on their career progression, or they are just looking for the next way out, given the time and everything? There are some organizations that when you go to, every little thing, they're already looking for way out. They're already applying for a job. If you pass by 4 systems, the job application should be seen. It's so bad that some IT personnel have now been informed to block job sites so that staff can, I kid you not, because I've worked there. If you open some job sites, you cannot apply because it has been blocked. Smart recruiters, all of them, they've been blocked because they know that people are constantly trying to run away. But instead of them to solve their employer brand, they are busy trying to restrain staff from leaving, which is a wrong approach. If you know that staffs are currently going and there's an attrition, it's for you to go back to the table and not create more policies to force them or to make them, give them even more reason why they should go. That when they see some new staff coming, they will not be looking for you. They will not be looking at you like they are singing burial song. You are coming to come and join us. Don't stay. Go. Even on your first, they'll be telling you, you came here, you came to join us. Cool. All of us are going. Cool. And stuff like that. So please check your employer brand from time to time. Check that there's a problem and try and solve it. And it will help give your business a competitive edge that it needs. So that being said, come to the end of my slides, and I hope that you all do better to building a good employer brand that speaks well of the organizations we work for, and we that are in charge of managing the personnel of these organizations.
Thank you very kindly, Ruth. That was an excellent expose. I didn't see that coming. That was magnificent. Thank you so much. Please, let's show us some appreciation. Let's use the emoticon. Let's drop a word, a sentence, a phrase in the chat box. This is a masterclass. Sincerely, this is beautiful. Thank you so much. While you are sharing with us, someone dropped a question, and I'd like to help the person re-echo the question. The person said, with all the valuable things with surrounding employer branding, why then do some organizations prefer to advertise their job or vacancies without mentioning the organization, using maybe Gmail or something very coded? Would you like to respond to that?
Yes, I would like to respond to that. So the thing is that some organizations are well known. They are well known. Once you drop an ad, I am guilty of this. So that's why I'm going to answer to that. So once you drop a job ad, you have, and I kid you not, there was a time I had up to 600 applicants. And when I looked at it, I was like, where am I going to start from? This is not my only role I have to do. 600, when would I be done? When would I conduct interviews and everything? So it helps me when I make it anonymous. So people don't know. So they just apply because the role speaks to them and not the organization. So people just want British American tobacco or Seplat. I can kid you not, if Seplat will drop an ad today, it will be in thousands. Whether you are qualified or not qualified, but because it is Seplat, you would apply. We share it for your friends to apply. Even somebody that is still in school without a certificate would apply, making it cumbersome for the talent manager to start CVing CVs. CVing CVs is the bulk of the work, to be honest.
Thank you very much for that feedback. We would like to take, if any, 2 or 3 questions. Do me a favor, raise up your hand quickly so that we can recognize you and grant you permission to ask your questions. Or if you want to type it quickly, we just have less than 5 minutes to wrap up this conversation. Also, if you like to make a comment, would like to weigh in to this conversation, maybe you have an experience you want to share that will benefit the larger house today, you also have the opportunity right now. Do me the favor, raise your hands using the button to indicate. Otherwise, for me, this has been a very, very massive session. I think we have a question here. Is it a question or a comment now from Omorugbe? As a candidate, when I am properly welcomed during an interview, and I later find out that the company is toxic after I've been hired, what do I do in that case? Is the employer branding now deceitful? You need to unmute it.
Yes. You know, I talked about if the internal perception and the external perception are different. There is either a problem with the employer brand or the brand is fraudulent. So if your external perception coming in as a candidate or as an applicant or a potential applicant is fantastic about the brand, and coming in, you now realize that brand is toxic. Yes, my dear, it's fraudulent. It means that they have packaged the brand for people to come in, but inside there is a problem. So what do you do? The truth is that I always tell people that your destiny is not tied to any organization. Even me as an HR professional, I've worked in places before I went currently where I'm working, and I don't know for how long I'll stay there, but everybody is looking for what buys into their future. So look at yourself. Why are you there? What do you want to do there? Does it tie into your career goals? Your happiness is very important, especially mental health. If you are not happy or mentally healthy in a place, you cannot perform well. Your job performance will be low. And trust me, when we do our KPIs and you're not performing up to par, not a lot of HR managers will sit down with you and start probing what is wrong. Some of us even know what is wrong, but we cannot talk. Or we'll rate your performance bad and you may be kicked out of the system. So look at it and ask yourself, you've already accepted the offer and you have left where you currently are. What do you do next? You have to create a plan. Are you going to stay there because it ties into 1 or 2 things that you are trying to achieve? Or are you going to leave? If you are going to leave, please have an exit plan. It is not enough for you to just jump to organization to organization. You just keep going from fry pan to fire. To be a game of chance. So have a plan and a strategy as to what you want to do if you are going to leave, or have a plan and a strategy if you are going to stay. Does it tie into your future? Is the remuneration nice? What is it that will make you stay? If not, then have an exit, the proper exit plan.
Thank you so much. Again, not everything that glitters is gold. When you get an offer letter, please don't be in a hurry to respond the same day. Consult broad and wide, okay? Don't move, like Ruth said, from fry pan to fire or from fry pan to fry pan. It doesn't make situation better. We'll take one and final comment or question or contribution or both from Deborah Dumbre. You have the floor. Deborah, please go ahead.
Beautiful presentation. I must say that you did to this. I would like to say something that it is important as HR because this topic is very key. HR, we are the face of every company, and it's our responsibility to keep with this employer's branding. And one challenge that we face is that sometimes we want to collaborate with the business owners, management, not to open up on certain things. I will share an experience. So I resumed a role, and I resumed, I was able to spend 3 weeks and I resigned. So what I was not paying. He didn't open up information about the business. I didn't know. I've accepted. I thought it was all good to get some information about them, kind of owing salaries and everything. And I saw it. When I confronted him, he said, yes, and yes, I forgot to tell you before you accepted the offer. I saw that it was deceit. So you deceived me to accept this offer. I was so angry. Immediately, I was on induction. I just disconnected the organization. And it will cost him more. It will cost him more to recruit somebody else. Even the management would even free him. So somebody is within 3 weeks, you have taken the person around, and now the person resigns. What's going on? Instead of opening up, but we try to conceal information. So for me, I would say that we do well to open up as HR professionals so that we do not have to face these issues of people being disgruntled, so disconnected from organizations. And if I hear someone going there now, hey, don't go. The way I would say it, people will think what and what I experienced. So that is what I wanted to say. Thank you again for this presentation.
Okay, Deborah, that's a very fantastic point. I've always made it, and I think some of my colleagues are on this call, on this topic, and they can verify. I am always honest. However, omitting some things and being dishonest are two different things. At HR, you get to be at the helm of affairs, whereby you have a lot of knowledge passed to you that can either scatter or help the company. But I will not lie. But however, I will omit some things because it is my job to manage the top, which is the stakeholders, and manage the employees at the bottom, so that there is a perfect synergy between the top and the bottom, because you are in the middle. I don't lie, but I just tell some people and I ask some people, what do you want to do with your future? And I will tell you that I don't think this is the right place for you to go on that path. However, if you have a plan, you may think of anywhere else, but I don't think this place fits right into you. But I won't come out to tell you, oh, the bosses are bad, this and that. I'll just tell you, it doesn't fit into where you are trying to go. If you are smart, you would understand what I am saying, because you are the face of the organization. It is technically, you are also managing the stakeholders as well. And you know what it means to be a bad manager? It means that you are not able to manage people, even though I know some stakeholders are very frustrating, but it is still your job. Stakeholder management is your job. And you cannot be a coward and run away from it if you are in that room. So you must find a balance. I am truthful, but however, I will need some things for the greater good of the organization. As to the time that I am there, let it not be heard that there is a commotion and I am the center of it. My job is to manage and not scatter. However, if I feel that the company no longer serves me as an individual, rather than scatter or make people more disgruntled, I will leave. But for the time that I am there, I am to bring order to that chaos. So rather than being so open and so creating more violence, like I said, if you are the HR on the violence headquarters, please move away to the neutral ground. Very important. Leave violence for the violence people. You are not there. That's not your calling. Jesus says you leave jail. Leave jail, please. Come to the neutral ground. Help to diffuse, not escalate. So when there's a problem or there's an issue, even if your bosses are fraudulent, they are chaotic, they are violent, no problem. Because your job is to diffuse and never to escalate. I always tell people, I will not lie to you. This is the truth, but I would omit some things because you know how human beings are. Once you give them one information, they will not sit down to listen to the end of that information. They've already carried the class and so on. They want to go and scatter the office. So we must apply wisdom in how you disseminate information to people, because not everybody is mature enough to receive, understand, and apply. So let it not say that it's the HRO that is spoiling the organization or everything. When you hear things that are going on or they are lying or everything, you can simply tell people, like I can tell some people that in the next couple of years, I would advise you to start looking for growth elsewhere.
because I think that this place will limit your growth when you get to a certain cap. I have told you there's no future this way for you, but you cannot quote me anywhere that I've told you to move because there's no future. I've simply given you wisdom of the Lord, and how you apply it to yourself is where common sense will come in. I cannot be quoted. I have not scattered. I have only arranged the future. My employees, my employers, I will simply tell them, where you are going is terrible for the brand, and at some point you would scatter the organization, or you'll be left behind and your competitors taking a competitive advantage of your brand, and you'll be slackering behind. I've told you that if you don't sit up, you will kill your organization. I have spoken it in a way that I think wisdom will guide you to understand. If you're a Christian, the Bible says wisdom is profitable to direct. So I have spoken. How you now apply it is up to you. So the HR professional, always make sure that you are neutral. But there, I will not advise you to lie. I will never lie to anybody. However, I will live for the sake of the organization I work in. It is better you leave a place better than you met it. Wisdom in everything you do, it is so important. How you speak, your mannerism, how you even direct questions at you, it is so important than ever, because people will hold it to your neck that is what HRO said. HRO said this. I can never be such HRO. I can never hear it. Even my colleagues from this meeting can testify to that. I would call you aside and I would give you drops of wisdom. How you apply it is up to you. Because if you are smart, you would understand that I've given you guide and direction for your future.
Thank you so much. We'll take one more comment or question from Sarah, but before we do, Sarah, be on standby. Adetola Gbero has a question here, and I'd like you to react to it. She says, what elements of a firm's culture or company's values are most critical for long-term success?
Okay, so this is a very, very important question. So for a company for long-term success, before you come and define a firm's culture, have you asked yourself, what are the business goals? What do they want to achieve? What are they driving at? And I said this again at the beginning, that it is very important to have well-defined goals and structure. That will help you to build everything on top. If you start building a culture without a well-business defined goals, you have just built foundation on sinking sand, and one day it will sink you and everything in it. Culture is the way and lifestyle, has been defined as the way and lifestyle of the people, meaning that from the stakeholders to the least person in that firm, both make up the employees' culture, how they do things, how they react to things, how things have been done over time, whether it is written in policy or it is written verbally. So then again, having a well-defined culture is also based on how the perception, how the brand wants to be seen and what they choose to be seen as. If you want to be seen as people that have a penchant for, there are some companies that they pay salaries on times and benefits attached to it with their culture. So they have made that part of their, how would I say it now? Part of their perception on how they want to be seen as companies that pay it on time. And it has over time become their culture. So what are the elements of a firm culture? It also depends on what they want to be seen as, or what they want to be known for, or what they want to be identified as. So elements is based on the company. I cannot tell you specifically that these are the elements of a company's culture that they have to have, but being toxic is not one of them, that I can tell you. So what does the company want to be seen as? Where are they driving to? What do they want to be identified as? When they do that, that becomes their culture for long-term success, because it now goes a long way to define who they are internally and externally, which builds up their brand. So having the right perception in the eyes of the employees, which will come from remuneration to behavior, to communication, to benefits, all together, what can be defined to make a company's success long term, actually even growth as well.
Okay, so final question or contribution from Sarah. Sarah, Essien, Idem, you have the floor, please.
Okay, good evening, and thank you very much for this awesome presentation. I mean, I really learned a lot. For me, currently, employer branding is one of my major goals for my current employer. Yes. And I've been, researching on different ways to go about it. So thank you for this. I mean, it has really given me so much hints on what to do. Okay, so my question is, I mean, my current organization, we basically work remotely and of course hybrid. So we have a flexible work schedule. So in conducting an interview, basically you really don't need to come to the office. So we do everything virtually, and I mean, offer letters till the person resumes, it's all done virtually. And even when the person resumes, you may not, if his role is not, or his or her role is not on site, the person may not necessarily come to the office after some weeks or so. So how can I create an employee experience for that person, since this person doesn't need to come on site to experience the company culture, to experience, you know, to have this rounded employee experience? How can we create employee experience virtually that will also be felt by this employee, even from the interview, from the recruitment section, down to onboarding, down to, you know, being an employee full-time? So how do we create an employee experience while working remotely? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sarah, for that beautiful question, which I suspect can be another topic for another day. Meanwhile, Ruth, you have the floor, please.
Okay, sir. So I get that. So everybody has studied that, and that's why a lot of companies are asking staff to come back to work. There's a disconnection when you work remotely or hybrid. A group of some people never get to interact. There's never this interaction with people. However, when you have discovered that you work hybrid or you work remotely, you must seek ways of building that gap, bridging that disconnect. Some people do team bonding sessions physically. Some people organize retreats once in a while where everybody from different parts of the country gather together, or, you know, countries come, they do this employee exchange program. Countries, they interchange countries to create that experience. But you must make active use of digital channels of how you communicate, whether it's on Teams, Yammer, whatever it is that you use to create that engagement with the company, with the staff, and also make sure that their teams or people that you are part of, they are constantly in engagement. And at one times, you must always try to create team bonding events to bring that staff to bond with the current organization that they do. If you want to do it a virtual team bonding, you want to do it a physical team bonding, but you must actively make use of the engagement. Now that we are in now of work and we are started remote for some organizations, there are channels that you use to create active participation or engagement within staff. So you must try as much as possible to engage that staff as to how he engages with his supervisors, team leads, his team members, you know, a feel of the organization. There will always be that disconnect when you are working remotely. That one, I assure you, it can never be the same as physical engagement. But since you are in that position already, so you must make active use of the channels available to you to constantly engage that staff and get feedback as to how they are doing and how you can sort that, even if it's to hold one-on-one sessions with them and their teammates, them and their supervisors, to find out how the person is blending in and, you know, buying into the company's goals, buying into the company's vision, finding out how they are acclimatizing to the organization and their role. So constant engagement, even virtually, would still help than you not engaging at all. But when you have the opportunity to create physical team bonding sessions, it is very important that you do, so that they can have a physical feel of the people that they work with, and also feed off the emotion in the room. Because sometimes you get the wrong emotions when you're communicating virtually. You can't tell how a person feels. Even a high tone, maybe the person just speaks on a high pitch and you feel the person is angry and they are not. So visiting bondings will help the person to feel the firm's culture and also engage properly with you after that. So when you engage with the digital channels that you have, also try and create physical means of engagement as well. And that's why team bondings and retreats would actually be a very great idea to use.
Okay, thank you so much. Just to add one or two things to that, when you are also having virtual meetings, there should be places where, as much as possible, insist on videos on. Because when you are having a conversation with someone and it's voice only, it's slightly different from when it is video. Okay, so you can also get line managers to do maybe daily calling sessions, or HR does weekly calling sessions. Okay, if you have like a body system in the organization, you could also call meetings maybe once in 2 weeks, and you really don't discuss work, like a break time where you chat. I remember back then during COVID, with my daughter in school, I suddenly realized that even though they were having lectures online, they also had break time online. And that break time, the teacher will not stay with the children. They will just be chatting and gisting so that they can bond even virtually. Of course, they all had their videos on and the likes. Okay. The other thing you can do is, for example, when it comes to things like recruitment, touch base with the, what do you call it now? The candidate. One of the things you can do, don't just force a time on the candidate. Give the candidate option of timing as much as possible. That way you're already showing the candidate that you value them and you value their time, rather than just say, give them a short notice and just give them the time. For example, you give them a 1 week window to choose any day and arrange an area of time. It already shows consideration and provide feedback. Let them know how many stages are you looking at, 2, 3, 4. What would you do to move on to the next stage? How long would you wait to get feedback, so that they know that end to end, in 1 week, in 4 weeks, this whole transaction will be over if they secure the job. If they don't, it will be less time than that, so that people are not working in uncertainty. I know someone who did an interview, then 5 months later, they called for another stage of interview. Of course, the person was no longer available. Do you understand what I'm saying? So it's very important. Try and, whether it's virtual or physical, respect is still respect. Courtesy is still courtesy. Professionalism is still professionalism. Okay. Empathy is still empathy. Don't let us throw away any of our traditional values. Okay. Just to add 1 or 2 things. The last thing I would like to say, Ruth, I don't always do this, but I'd like to have you back. Check your calendar in April. I will not give you a topic, but I'll give you a focus area, something around culture, since you like culture and employer branding. So you have spoken to employer branding. Choose anything you around employee, HR, around culture. Let's look at April. I'll give you 1 more break. Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. This has been a lovely session, and I would love to be back in April to share more on how we can, make the workplace better for everyone.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. On behalf of the over 50 to 60 people who joined this session live, I'd like to say thank you. And on behalf of everybody who also watch this online, it will be uploaded tonight. I'd like to say thank you. We will keep in touch with you, and we pray that the wisdom you have so generously shared with us tonight, more and more of it will be available to you. Thank you, Ruth.
Thank you very much.
Everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Goodbye.
Have a good night and a great weekend.